Hit the intersections, how many feet are you going to go into the intersections?
Well, we're going to work our way through the intersection, so I mean we have
but
to
how
get
many
through
feet off of Nassau Avenue you're going to go through?
Nassau Avenue. You mean north or south?
Yeah, let's say Monitor Street. How many feet are you going to go in when you hit Monitor Street intersection?
Typically
300?
building line.
Building line. So like, well, you were saying about 25 or less? It depends on the facilities, you know, but there are drawings in the contract that allow us. So I mean, we're saying building line, typically maybe.
Typically, we'll go to building lines unless there's work on a given segment. All right, and sometimes it's not just us. I mean, it could be that Con Ed or Verizon will come in and say, we have work down that segment, and they'll piggyback on our work. But generally, if there's no work on a given block face, then we'll just go to the building line to do our tie-ins.
Is the contractor also going to work with the utilities? Or the utilities coming in themselves?
In what sense?
Joint venture with them?
The
Is it joint
National
venture?
Grid,
I don't remember.
National Grid came in last year and removed their facilities.
Yeah.
Moved their facilities, which is what you were talking about. Con Edison right now will be working with Con Edison and doing whatever capital work that they put into the contract.
There's two types of work. There's capital work, which is like Con Ed decides that, oh, it would be a really good idea to put in 12 brand new ducts for future use. That work is something that they'll try to negotiate with the contractor, and if they can't come up with an agreement, then Con Ed will do it themselves, or they'll hire their own contractor to do it. Then there's interference work. Interference work, the contractor is mandated to work it out with the utility companies. They're mandated to work it out with him. And if for some reason they can't agree, then there's a whole arbitration process to make sure that the work continues and moves forward. So the interference work, which is basically support and protect, make sure that the contractor doesn't rip out his facilities, that will be part of the contract. Capital work is something they try to negotiate, but they don't always agree.
Now, does that mean once the streets are open, everybody's going to go in and put what they got them, or are they going to open the streets, close them up, and then reopen them?
It's always going to look like we're opening and closing, opening and closing, opening and closing. And the reason for that is you've got varying depths of facilities, and you've got various amounts of real estate that are necessary in order to both A, put in the infrastructure, and B, maintain traffic. So most contractors will go do the water main, then come back and go do the sewer, then come back, and if there's some Con Ed work that's got to be done in another lane, they'll go do that. So it's kind of this, it's an assembly line type process, and even though we come back over and over and over again, the impact is far less than us digging curb to curb and locking you out of the block for 3 months to build everything at the same time.
But related to that in the sense that when we're finished, our goal is that when we're finished with the project, we hope that either Con Edison or National Grid or any of the facilities or any of the utilities will have realized that, okay, well, here's my chance now, let me get the work that needs to be done. And, you know, obviously there are emergencies that come up after the project is finished, but capital work or things that they can see and can do, they will do now while the trench is there and so forth. So that's the plan, that's the goal. It doesn't always work that way because sometimes something happens, and at the end of the project, the utility comes in, and at that point, when the street's already been paved, what they're required to do is if they come in, they're required to restore the street curb to curb, street to street, based on how much they disrupt.
Now, just trying to remember when McGinnis Boulevard was ripped in half. Our building got a bazillion cracks in it, windows were cracked, everything. I mean, is there money allocated in the budget to repair our buildings once the cracks and the glass and everything else starts?
Well, what happens now, the contractor takes pre-construction photos. So we have an idea of what the existing conditions are.
Okay.
And so...
And I guess businesses
and
themselves
video
should
too.
also.
Sorry?
I think we should also.
Yeah, well, if you're on Nassau Avenue, we're gonna come in and photograph your building.
Okay.
And what happens is that if you file a claim, if you say, okay, well, he was jackhammer, we'll go back and look at the pictures and do before and after. And so, I mean, it would be a claim if it's something that the contractor or the investigation determines that it was caused by the construction. Typically, there's very little damage caused by construction. People like to feel that there's a lot of construction.
You would have seen all the cracks coming up the walls on McGinnis. That was McGinnis Boulevard construction. That wasn't
last meeting, I have two questions. At the last meeting, we were told that the contractor was going to do 2 blocks at a time. And I don't mean final restoration of that, because I'm aware of what has to be completed. But if he goes through 2 blocks, installs the water main, he's going to close those 2 blocks up before he moves to the next 2 blocks and do the next water main? Or is he going to, after he does the water main, open up for the sewer, and then you're going to have 4 blocks open, and then 6 blocks open?
Okay, so I don't think we said that he has to maintain 2 blocks. Typically, at this contract, I don't know how many blocks he can have active construction, if there's a limit. Is there? No. So one of the things.
We were told at the last meeting that there was a 2-block limit.
Oh, you mean the meeting in
Right,
January,
yes.
February? Okay. All right, well, that's not the case. And I'm being honest, I mean, that's not the case where he may, in reality, it may work out that he's working 2 blocks and working up, but he's well within his permit, which is issued by DOT, that he can maintain, he could work greater than 2 blocks. The reality is that he's not going to have all of Nassau Avenue because he's not going to have enough crews, he's not going to have enough work for them to do. It doesn't, it's not conducive, obviously, for us to be there and have the entire avenue excavated. But we're looking probably 1 to 2 blocks, maybe 3 blocks at a time. We'll work, move on, restore. There will be, which we didn't mention this, there will be storage of materials on site. We'll try to make sure that they're kept as tightly packed together, but there will be lanes, traffic lanes on blocks that you will see construction materials. You'll see the storage equipment. Equipment stored on the street. So I just want to let everybody know when they see that. Part of the project. There is a permit allowed. He is allowed to store on site, and we try to keep it within the work zone, which is Nassau Avenue. So we try not to obviously go to side streets, which obviously impact people who are not part of the
Well,
construction.
I'm more concerned with the sewer work, because if he opens up 2 blocks and he just continues and leaves that behind him, then we have the rodent problem in that.
No, when he's finished with the sewer, at a certain distance, he starts backfilling.
Oh, I'm well aware of that, but if he has an extra machine or 2 for the day and 4 extra laborers, he might open up 600 more feet down the block. So I'm more concerned with the sewer opening.
Okay, so it was right. So you can't open more than 2 blocks.
And generally, when we're doing this work, like the distribution main goes much quicker than the sewer work. And so you're going to have a crew that might be starting some sewer work somewhere along the way with him doing his distribution water main, but he may be 4 blocks down the road already. Distribution water mains already been backfilled and temp paved. The sewer work itself, it is a slower process, but it's still, like Shane was saying, I mean, they open up a trench, they lay the pipe, they backfill it, they temp asphalt it. So the length of open trench, it doesn't behoove him to have 12 blocks open of open trench. It doesn't help him go any faster. It doesn't help him make any money. He's paid when the pipe's in the ground and backfilled. So he wants to get it backfilled as quickly as possible as well. So you're not going to see long, long trenches. And there are limitations. I'm not sure if it was written as 2 blocks, how it was written. But there are limitations on each process. He might be doing water main and sewer simultaneously, but that doesn't mean that he's going to open up 1,000 feet. He might be doing 300 feet in one area and 150 feet in the other.
Sewer work takes a lot longer than putting in the length of water main.
Yes, it does.
It's deeper, so there's a lot of more excavation.
Sheeting, yeah, we know.
Absolutely.
And are you going to bait well ahead of time?
Yes.
My other question is, if you don't mind me asking, Fergie, are you liaison for the construction company itself?
No, he works as a consultant for DDC.
Oh, you're a consultant for DDC?
Yes.
So, is it Maspeth that's the contractor? Because that
Yes.
seems to be a big secret.
No, we have it on the slide at the first.
Well, now it is, but
Well,
Maspeth doesn't have their own liaison. It's going to be typically you.
It's going to be me, and I have nothing to do with them.
Okay, so when you're a one-on-one basis with the encroachments, you don't work with the contractor, you're from
I work for
DDC?
DC.
Okay, thank you.
We much prefer you talk with RCCL than any member of the contractor. Okay? You'll get much better answers. You'll certainly get much more cooperation. So please don't talk to the contractor unless,
I agree.
If the guy's you've got to get your car out and he happens to be sitting there in his dyno hole, yes. Could you move? Fine. But for the most part, you want to go through the CCL for anything related to the project.